Okay, so we're live. Welcome back to the Magicminds podcast. I'm Matt Burke. You're listening and watching Deliberately's #1 podcast. Yup, Deliberately's, yup, the flats. On the show today, I'm joined by the lovely and gorgeous Jackie Fox. Jackie, what's the crack?
Thank you for having me, Matt.
It's absolutely beautiful to have you on the show. I'm delighted to have you on the show. Guys, I have asked Jackie to come on the show because Jackie's daughter, Nicole, took her life by suicide in 2018. So, pre-warning for anybody that may be struggling with their mental health, or this may impact them, this may trigger you, so you have the option maybe to turn off or just to be mindful that this could trigger you. So if you need help, send us a message. We'll point you in the direction of someone that can help you. Or afterwards, if you do watch the show, please share with people your thoughts, feelings or emotions, or any triggers come up for you. So just, it's a bit of a warning just to mind your little self. I always tell people to mind their little self. So if watching this is not minding your little self, I'd say turn off and wait till you're in a stronger position, because we are going to cover stuff today which is the death of this beautiful young lady. We're going to talk about suicide, we're going to talk about bullying, so it's going to be a difficult show, a listen or a watch for people, so just to be mindful of that. As I say, I've asked Jackie on the show. Would you say we're on the same circuit together? Are we on the speaking circuits?
Yeah, definitely. We kind of do different things, but the end result is the same. It's just helping people, showing them how to be kind, not to bully people, not to, nobody knows what's going on inside anyone's head. So it's just to be careful what you're saying. So yeah, I think we do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I was doing a talk in Benevan College there a couple of weeks ago, and Dave Murphy, Mr. Murphy as they call the students call him Mr. Murphy. I laugh when I hear that. He's such a kind lad, he's brilliant, and he got me on. But then he told me about yourself and the fantastic, beautiful Gary Cunningham. And he says, you got to meet these guys, you got to get them on your show. And I heard rave reviews about you. You were there doing a talk, and it's all around bullying and in schools and that. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do actually.
Yeah, since I lost Nicole, I was doing the talks on my own first, and I'd go around to schools, colleges, community centres, youth reach, football clubs, anything like that at all. And then since then I've joined up with Gary, and we both do our talks. Now my talk, I don't sugarcoat my talk at all. It would be hard hitting after losing my daughter. But Gary's talk, then he lifts them up at the end, where he lets them, he makes sure that they know that they are enough, and that they're important. And sometimes people don't listen to teenagers, that they can be moany and stuff and all. But he'd make everyone feel great about themselves. I make them cry, and he builds them up.
You're a good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
We were meant to have Gary on the show last week, but we've moved it to hopefully next week if he's ready to rock. He has got a few things on, so lovely to get him on. But it's just absolutely fantastic to have you on. So look, as we said, Nicole took her life by suicide. Take us back a bit. Tell us a little bit about Nicole, so we can get a sense, or we can get a sense of her.
I have two boys at home, and Nicole was my only little girl. She was funny, bubbly, lively. She'd a great personality. Growing up, she'd a lot of friends. She was cheeky. Many times I ran up the stairs after her, and she'd still have to get the last word in. But she was very witty, and she always had these one-liners, ready to shoot back at me when she was having a row with me. She was great in school. She was a wizard at maths, loved maths, and she wanted to be an accountant when she got older. And she wanted to travel as well, but she never got to do any of that. We had a mobile home in Courtown in Wexford, where I live now. And we would go down all through the summer, midterm, bank holidays, any chance we could get down. And the same people, all our friends, would always come down at the same time as well. But we'd spend hours on the beach. They used to go crab fishing. They learned how to jump off the pier into the sea with their armbands, and as time went on, they learned how to jump off without their armbands. There was a forest down the end of the road, where we were as well, and we used to bring a bunch of the kids, Nicole and our brothers and a few other kids, into the forest at about, say, 1 or 2 in the morning, and it'd be pitch dark, and all we'd literally have is a torch and a stick, and we'd never stay on the trail, and we'd get off the trail and we'd get lost in this big huge forest on purpose. But the only way we could find our way out of the forest was to listen to the sound of the sea. And once we heard the noise of the sea, we knew we'd be back onto the beach, and that would lead us back to the car. But it was a great adventure for them. They loved it. And Nicole used to always say, "Mum, do you know where you are?" And I go, "Yeah." I wouldn't have a clue. And sometimes it'd be nearly daylight by the time we'd get out of the forest. But they used to fall down ditches, and they'd come home with thorns stuck in their legs. But you know what? They had a ball. They loved it. But she loved it. She loved going down to Courtown, and that was her fun time. You know, she'd so many great memories down there, all the way up. She'd a happy childhood. She never suffered with anxiety. That all came afterwards when everything started to go wrong. Then she suffered terrible with anxiety then. But no, she was my best friend. We did everything together. She told me everything. You know, anything she did, she'd always tell me what's going on. Sometimes some things I didn't want to hear, but no, we were so good. She was my best friend. She still is. I probably talk to her the most now.
Do you?
Than anyone else, yeah.
That's fantastic. Literally talking to someone today that lost their mother, and you know, she says, "I miss her," and I was like, "She's not gone." You know, we can't create or destroy energy. It can only be transformed, and I truly believe that it's just transformed, but we don't lose the spirit.
Yeah.
And do you believe that too?
100%. You know, I'm not holy. We never went to mass. I was never into any of that, but. I definitely know Nicole with me 100%. You know, there's so many things that happened that you know you couldn't possibly say they were coincidence. Do you know what I mean? So, but I do feel. I know she's with me. I know she in everything I do. I know she's beside me, and she's the actual. I don't want to jump ahead, but one night when I was going to go with her, one night I was going to take my own life, and my cousin rang me out of the blue, and she said whatever, and I haven't heard from my cousin in about a year and a half, and she said, whatever you're thinking of doing, don't do it. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm not thinking of doing anything. And she says she had, this going to sound mental, but, and I'm not wholly religious.
I love this.
But she said to me that she had a vivid dream. It wasn't a dream, it was like a visit, if you like. And she said Nicole was talking to me, but my cousin couldn't see me. I was behind the door, and it was in the sitting room, and in the background on the telly, Codaline was playing Follow Your Fire, and I never heard of that song before. And Nicole said to the person behind the door, she says, "No, we don't want you up here yet. You're not. No, we don't want you up here yet. You've too much work to do." And I hadn't a clue what that was all about. But the next day, I stopped off at the garage, and I brought my son. Said, "Will you get us a roll in the garage?" And he went into the garage, and I won't listen to the radio even today, in case a song comes on that Nicole liked, or I'd say she would have loved that song. So I kind of avoid listening to songs on the radio. But that day I turned on the radio, and Follow Your Fire came on, the chorus of Follow Your Fire, and I hadn't a clue what's too much work, what too much work I had to do. And it was only now that I realised what work I had to do in bringing the law in. But there's so many other things. I know no one can touch her now, no one can hurt her now. She's safe where she is, and I know she's always going to be with me. So
I know you just read a book recently called Signs, you know,
yeah.
And it talks about this either through music, through numbers, through colours and feathers, and like, and the hairs on my neck and all over, goosebumps all over. And that really resonates with me. It's beautiful, but also very painful.
Yeah.
But it's lovely that she's with you, and you can still feel her in your heart.
Yeah, definitely.
You said a couple of minutes ago, Jackie, that things started to go bad, things started to go wrong.
Yeah.
Is it okay to talk about that,
Yeah,
please?
Yeah, that's fine. As I said, Nicole was happy growing up all the way through, and she couldn't wait until she reached the age of 18 so she could go to her first nightclub. She had tried to get into nightclubs before, but she was only my height. She was 5 foot, and sometimes she looked about 12 going out, and there wasn't a hope that she'd get into the nightclub. So she, when she turned 18, she couldn't wait, and she was friends with this boy who she thought was her best friend at the time. They did everything together. They shared everything. He used to come down to Courtown with us all the time, and they went to the pictures, and they were best friends. And weirdly enough, his birthday was on the same day as Nicole's, so they both went off to the nightclub. And the first few months was grand. She'd come home and she'd tell me, you know, what a great night she had, and had a few drinks, and she loved to dance and sing. And I always say, poor Cole, although she loved to sing, she hadn't got a note in her head. She was the most horrendous singer that you could ever hear. And it's funny because even driving down to Wexford, it takes about an hour and 15 minutes, and the boys would be in the back of the car, and Nicole would be in the car beside me, and she'd have her earphones in, and she'd have like Chris Brown or Drake or Tupac on, and it was the longest bloody hour and 15 minutes going down, because I could only hear Nicole singing, where she could hear the song and the music in her earphones, but I could only hear her singing. But it didn't matter. When she went out, she just loved to sing and dance and be normal, you know, just have a few drinks. It started off with two girls in particular. One of the girls has since moved to England, and her mum has disowned her for what she did to Nicole. But she also gave me all the messages and all the threatening messages, and said the reason why the bullying started was through jealousy alone. And it was because this main girl, she liked Nicole's friend, the boy, and the only way she could get closer to this boy was to make friends with Nicole. And that's what she did, and everything was fine you know, for a while. But then when she realised that the boy wasn't interested in her or didn't want to be with her, she had to take it out on someone. And she kind of formed a little group. By the time Nicole died, it was up to 25 people against her. But at the start of it, she got about 6 or 7 people in her little group, because she was a coward. She couldn't bully Nicole on her own. She had to have a group with her. It started off with little things like they'd trip her up and or push her into stuff. But then it got more serious when Nicole would go down in the nightclub. She'd go down to the smoking area with another friend, one of her she was a girl that she used to hang around with, and they'd go down to the smoking area. But what was happening was these people would gather around Nicole, and they started to put the cigarette butts out onto her skin. They'd put it on her arm or on her leg, but because there was loads of people watching, they go, "Oh, sorry, Cole, that was an accident. Oh, yeah, okay, I didn't mean it." But Nicole suffered physical abuse and mental abuse for 3.5 years, and burning her was a regular thing, and always apologised. And then Nicole would get up and dance on the dance floor, you know, some of the nights, and they'd gather around her and they'd pretend to dance with her, but they'd give her an elbow in the face or an elbow in the chest and knock her on the ground. But to everyone else, it looked like an accident, because they'd be helping her up off the ground and saying, "Oh, are you okay?" And another time, Nicole was coming out of the bathroom in the nightclub, and 2 of the girls were walking towards her, and they pushed her so hard into the corner of the table they dislocated Nicole's hip. Another time there was a metal flight of stairs in the nightclub, and one of them got her by the hair and literally dragged her down, bounced her down every metal step that was in the nightclub. They any chance they get, they'd beat her up, and bear in mind, I told you Nicole was 18. The main girl that started this, she was 23, and so these aren't like kids, do you know what I mean? These were adults. And another time, two of the girls that Nicole thought were Nicole's friends, they actually burned her with the curling tongs when they were in Nicole's room. They stuck it to her and started laughing. And these 2 girls were mothers. They had kids of their own, so we're not talking about teenagers. No,
children.
These were adults and mothers, and that were targeting her. They made a fake profile page called Saoirse, and they said that they were going to get her to the end and that they were going to beat her up so badly and leave her on life support machine. And that was the physical abuse that went on for the 3.5 years. But in between that as well was the online abuse. Nicole, I told you Nicole never suffered with anxiety, but what was happening was when Nicole was when she was going out at the weekends, she would get ready and she'd be all done up, but then I'd hear her thrown up in the bathroom and getting sick, and I used to go up and I'd hold her hair back and I'd be rubbing her back, and I'd be saying, Nicole, would you not just stay in with me? And you know, I knew she'd be safer at home. She always said, no ma'am, why should I have to stay in? Why can't I go out and have a laugh and a few drinks? And she was 100% right. She should have been able to, but Nicole would always go out with that fake smile on her face, and she'd always say, I'm not going to let them win. So she'd have that smile on her face and pretending that she was okay, not realising that she was thrown up and you know, so nervous going out. But they went on to they started to go online then, and Nicole never answered them. She never responded once to them, but every day there'd be something like on the likes of Snapchat that would only last, say, for 10 seconds, or WhatsApp. They joined in a WhatsApp group and spread so many vicious rumours about her. They put up a video on WhatsApp of some random girl, and the girl's face was blurred out, but this girl was with 3 men, and they shared that all around saying, look what Nicole's up to. But every day they would say, go hang yourself, and go slit your wrists, are you still here? You know, everyone hates you, why aren't you dead yet? And they also sent her videos of a noose on how to hang yourself. So this was constant. If it's not physical abuse, it was the online abuse. You know, and I was losing that. I was losing Nicole, and I didn't have a clue what was ahead of us, but you know, her smile was gone, her confidence was gone. She was staying in her room a lot. You know, she was watching Netflix, she was sleeping a lot. She used to cry herself to sleep every night, and she'd wake up the next morning feeling just as sad as she did the night before. And then one day I came home and Nicole had taken an overdose, and I thought that was myself and Nicole's worst nightmare, not having a clue what was ahead of us. Brought her to Tala Hospital, and she was on a drip. Myself and Nicole stayed in there for 4 nights, but she was let down because when she got out, she was sent to CAMS, and she sat in front of the main guy in CAMS, and she was sobbing her heart out, and he said to her, it's just a phase you're going through, it's all part of life. You know,
what the fuck?
That's not a phase that anyone should go through, Matt, and it's certainly not all part of life that someone burns you or dislocates your hips or beats you up, or you know, yeah. So I took her out there, but yeah, I was losing Cole at that stage. I walked into her room one night and she had like pajama shorts on her, and she had got her nails. Now this is the person that never suffered with anxiety, never suffered with mental health, but she had got her nails, and she dug them so deep into her skin, so deep into her legs, and so deep onto her belly, and she got her nails and dug them so deep onto her face until she bled, and you know, it was affecting her so much. And one time I walked into her room after the overdose, and I always lay on the bed with her and we'd have the chats, and you know, I'm trying to build her up all the time, and she said to me, Mum, I can't do this anymore. And she was sobbing her heart out, and she said, the only reason why I can't kill myself, Mum, is because I don't want to leave you heartbroken. And that's the type of person Nicole was. She never thought, she wasn't thinking of herself. She knew how devastated and heartbroken I'd be, but she still held on for that 3.5 years, because she was a fighter, you know. She knew she didn't want to leave me. She didn't want to die, you know. But they just never left her alone.
Jesus. What kind of support, if any, did you get any support? Guards, schools,
Well, she was 18, so she wasn't in school at the time. But we did, when they made the fake profile and threatened to say that they'd beat her up so badly and leave her on life support machine, we did go down to the guards, and because Nicole was over 18, I couldn't make the statement for her. And she said it in front of the guard. She says, "Ma'am, I can't make it a statement because imagine the guards going to their house, to these adults' house, not kids, and imagine the guards going to their house." She said, "Ma'am, they'd kill me." And she was so terrified of making a statement, because she knew what would happen, when she went to the guards.
So no support in the community, no support in the guards.
No, there was nothing. It was just it was that powerlessness, and at this stage the group was getting bigger and bigger as well, and remember what I said at the start, this was all because this one girl couldn't get the boy she wanted. That's all. Nothing else to it. No, she was just, it's the powerlessness. And when Nicole took the overdose as well, the doctor said to her, "Do you regret it?" And Nicole said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, that's good." And she goes, "No, I regret it didn't work." And when you hear that, the fear, the panic that just comes over you, it was up to myself and my family to try and get Nicole back to having her smile again. And Nicole loved McDonald's. She absolutely loved McDonald's, and she'd be up in her room and she'd sometimes call me Jackers. And when she called me Jackers, I knew she was looking for something, right? And she'd be up in her room, she'd text me and she'd go, "Yup, Jackers, are we going to Macca's?" And I used to text back to her and say, "No, you can't keep eating that crap." But you know what, Matt? A half an hour later, we'd be sitting in McDonald's just to get her out of her room, or we'd go shopping, or we'd go to Bray, or anywhere just to get her out of her room. But every night, she'd always sit at the end of my bed when we're going to bed, and she'd always give me a hug and a kiss. But every single night, forever, she'd always, when she's getting up to leave after giving me a hug and a kiss, she'd always go, "Night, Ma'am, I love you." And I'd always say, "Night, Cocoa Pops." I used to call her Cocoa Pops, and I'd say, "Night, Cocoa Pops, I love you too." But I'd hear her in her room, and she'd be crying herself to sleep, and she'd wake up the next morning feeling just as sad as she did the night before. So it was that battle of trying to get my little girl back, to some sort of happiness, not to wear a fake smile, but to have a real smile.
It just seemed like you and her were just in quicksand, and it was just getting harder and harder, and no support. So you, like, as a parent, how did you get through that? Like what was that like for you, that whole experience? You as a parent, it's
just a constant worry, especially after finding her taking an overdose. I'd always ring her for stupid things, just to get her to answer the phone. If she'd go for a walk, I was constantly saying, "Where are you?" Sometimes I'd get into the car just to check on her. It was just that constant fear of, because the bullying, and I hate saying bullying to me is a real schoolyard playground word. You know what I mean? She was tortured and tormented, and that's only some of the stuff that I'm saying. Like the stuff she did, so I knew what way her mind was, and she wasn't in a good place at all. So yeah, it was just constant fear, constant checking up on her, and constantly trying to build her back up in some kind of way.
So you both lost your life for 3 years, and now for the rest of your life you have to carry this.
Yeah.
And at what point did it turn?
Things started to turn around for the better, believe it or not. When this was happening in the nightclubs, Nicole never went to the same nightclub for the same abuse. She would go to different nightclubs, but they would, with the likes of the apps and all, if you want to find out where people are, they'll find you. So these people used to go down to different nightclubs with Nicole. But where it went really bad was, I'll take you back to Christmas, our very last Christmas together. I didn't know it was our last Christmas. It was Nicole's favourite time of the year. She loved it, and we'd all go down to my mum's house, and we'd have all the aunties and cousins, and you know, everyone would gather in my mum's house, and only for Nicole taking photographs. We'd have no photographs. She always took the selfies and the pictures, but that last Christmas that I spent with her, she had taken photographs individually, one of her and her nan, one of her and her granddad, who she absolutely idolised, one of each cousin, one of each auntie, one of me. But I didn't know at the time that that's the way she did it, you know. But Christmas, she started to go out with my niece and her friends, and she knew all my niece's friends, so she was grand, and she'd go out to a nightclub. And one time, just after Christmas, when she was in the nightclub, when she was in the other nightclub, she'd always ring me after an hour, say, and she'd go, "Quick, mum, quick, come and get me," because they were going to hurt her, and or maybe she'd last 2 hours, and I'd have to fly down and get her. But this particular night, she went to the nightclub, and she didn't ring me, and I was ringing her, and I didn't get any answer. And what was going through my head was, they're after getting her, they're after finding her, and you know, I never went to bed when she went out anyway, because I was always ready to go out and grab her, you know. But she rang me at about 3:30, 4:45 in the morning, and she got into the car, and Matt, I'm not joking, the smile on her face, she literally genuinely had a great night. She was laughing, she was telling me all about the night. I could see my Nicole again, you know, and I was so happy, and she went to the nightclub again, and everything was fine, and I thought things were turning around, they're going to leave her alone. And obviously they were still doing the online stuff to her, but they weren't following her to this nightclub, and she was coming out happy. Her very, very last night she went out was New Year's Eve, and she had a brilliant night, and she was taking videos, and I can hear her laughing in the videos, and you know, just to hear her laughing, and brilliant night. But where it all went wrong was on the 17th of January, which was a Wednesday. Nicole was getting ready to, you know, preparing to go out for the Saturday night. She had her eyebrows booked, everything, and she said, "Mum, do you want to go over to Liffey Valley Shop Centre, and we get some clothes?" And I said, "Yeah," delighted. She was coming out, and she was happy, looking forward to going out on the Saturday night. And she bought this little red dress, and that red dress is hanging in my wardrobe now with the tags still on them, because she never got to wear it. On that night, she was in my room, the usual, and she go, "Night, Mum, I love you," and I said, "Night, Coco Pops, I love you," and I didn't hear her cry when she went into her bedroom that night. I was so relaxed. I was saying, everything's turned around, everything's going to be okay. But the next day, the 18th of January, it wasn't unusual not to see Nicole, and she was still in bed, and my dad has Alzheimer's, and I would always go down to my mum's, you know, a few times during the week, but I would always go down on the 18th was a Thursday, and I'd always go down on a Thursday while my mum did the shopping out my dad. But I got home to my house at 3:20, and I dropped one of my sons to work, and went on around to collect my 14-year-old son Lee from school. When we got to the house, we opened the door, and Lee was standing right beside me, so we were both kind of coming in the door at the same time. And right in front when we walked in, Nicole had got the step ladder, and she has a boxer dog, Bruce, and she had put Bruce up in the bedroom, and she had got the step ladder and Bruce's dog's lead, and she was hanging from the banisters in the hallway. The minute we walked in, I didn't scream or roar. I don't know what it was. It was like a howl. Just, I don't know. I couldn't even describe the sound I made. And I ran over to her, and because she was at a height, I put my arms around her legs to try and lift her up to get some of the weight off her neck. And Lee ran halfway up the stairs and unhooked the dog's lead. I thought she was going to be heavy. My worst fear was that she was going to bang her head off the frame of the door. But when she came down, I didn't even feel her. She was still alive. She still had a heartbeat. She was still warm. And I lay her down on the floor, and I rang the ambulance, and I had them on loudspeaker, and I was doing CPR on call, and all I kept saying to her was, just hold on, baby. I said, you're going to be okay. I'm gonna, everything's going to be fine. And they took her into when the ambulance crew came, they took her into the kitchen, and I was taken into the sitting room, and I begged them and said, can I just go out and hold her hand? I said, she needs me right now, and I just wanted to hold her hand. And they said that you can't. When they took her into the ambulance, I didn't know this until afterwards. On the way to the hospital, Nicole took a massive heart attack and died. But do you remember that strong, brave girl that I was telling you about, that still went out with that smile on her face, or that girl that held on because she didn't want to leave me heartbroken? That's how strong she was. They got her heartbeat back again in the ambulance. When we got to the hospital, I'd about 5 seconds with her. I don't know how I got to that hospital first. And I'd about 5 seconds with her when they took her out of the ambulance. And I said, you're going to be okay, baby. I rubbed her face or her hair. They took her off me, and do you remember I said at the start that these people were going to leave her on life support machine? That's exactly what they did. They left her. Nicole was put on life support machine, and I had 2 days with her. Two of the most important days with her. She was. The doctor had called myself and my 2 boys into a room, and Lee, my 14-year-old son, he said, is she going to be okay? And the doctor said, just straight out, he said, no, she's going to die. And he said that she had extensive brain damage, and that her organs were going to start to shut down. And although I was hearing what he said, I was still thinking that Nicole was going to come home with me. I couldn't comprehend what he was saying, even though I heard what he was saying. I remember rubbing her face and her cheek, and I just said to her, Cole, if you just open your eyes for 5 seconds and just go, yup, Jackers, are we going to Mackers? That's all I wanted to hear her say, but she never got to do that. The weird thing is as well, my mind was all over the place. And when she was lying in intensive care, Lee actually collapsed, and he was taken to another part of the hospital where he was sedated. So Lee was in another part of the hospital, and I was with Nicole, so it was just, everything was just all over the place. And this is going to sound weird what I'm going to say, but I thought she was coming home with me. I still thought she was coming home. And when myself and Lee walked into the hallway, Nicole was in her house coat, and her hair was all over the place. And I remember looking at her on the bed, and my family and her friends were coming in not to see her in hospital, but to say goodbye. And I remember when all I said to her was, Jesus, Cole, look at the state. You didn't even wash your hair. Imagine even thinking of that, because I thought she was coming home. So I washed her hair, and she was in the bed, and I put lip gloss on her, and I painted her nails. And I said, you're going to thank me for this when you come home, because you're going to say, Scarlet, ma'am, with our friends coming in. And I said, I thought she was going to say, thanks, ma'am. Still thinking that she was coming home with me. On the 20th of January, the Saturday morning, that was the morning that she was supposed to go out that Saturday night, and Nicole's heartbeat started going all erratic, and her blood pressure was all over the place. And the nurse that was minding Cole with me, she came over to me, and she put her hand on my shoulder, and she said, it's time. And I knew exactly what that meant. I got up on the bed beside her, and I was rubbing her cheek, rubbing her hair, and the only thing I said to her was, I said, just let go, baby. I said, because no one is ever going to hurt you again. I said, no one is ever going to touch you again. And the very last words that I ever got to say to her was, I love you, Coco Pops. And then she died. I think it was 2 days after that the main girl that I was telling you about, she put up on Facebook, this how fake people can be and how fake Facebook can be. She put up on Facebook, oh, so sad, rest in peace, Coley. If anyone if this is happening to anyone, you can come and talk to me. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. This is the person that murdered my Nicole. Nicole didn't take her own life, man. They took it. They took it from her. And she's putting up on Facebook, you know, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, but the other group that she had formed, they were all putting up, oh, rest in peace, Coley, and then there was people commenting on it, asking them, are you okay? I'm sorry to hear about your friend. And that just sickened me. It just sickened me so much that, you know, after what they did, unnecessary, all because this one adult couldn't get the boy she wanted. And they were pretending that Nicole was their friend. And
was there ever any confrontation with them? Did you ever speak to them, or did you approach these girls, or?
I never went to see them. To be honest, I moved out from Duggan because you know, if I needed bread or milk, I couldn't even go to the shops. I'd have to go to Tala to get bread and milk and stuff, because if I seen any of them walking down the road while I was in the car, would I have accelerated? More than likely, yeah. I don't want to see any of them. I knew every one of the bullies. Nicole knew every one of them. I knew their families. Like, I knew all these people. No, but I never want to see them. Never wanted to see them. Never apologise. I don't want their apology either.
No.
No, they just kind of hiding it as if it wasn't them.
Well, they're gonna have to sit with that, live with that for the rest of their life. You know, they know the truth, and you know, no matter what you say or do, they have to live with that. You know, they know what they did, and as you say, they weren't children. They were adults.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. I suppose maybe karma. It was come back around. I'm hoping.
Everybody has to pay their due, you know. If that's the kind of work you did, you're gonna have to pay back in somehow. And I don't wish bad on anyone, but there has to be reciprocity, you know. So, what was the next step then for you? How did you get through that? Like, I can't imagine
the first year, Matt, this is probably going to sound weird, but the first year was the easiest, because you're numb, you haven't a clue what's going on, you're in a daze. It's like you're looking at someone else's, it's like it's not really happening.
You're not present.
No, not at all. So the first year, I didn't realise at the time, but the first year was the easiest. It's only after the first year when reality kicks in, when you know she's not coming home, or you know you're not going to feel her skin when you're giving her a hug, or hear her say I love you. And the guards came to my house, and even though I had everything on the phone, all the messages and the video of the news, and I had everything on, I had all the proof, and the guard said to me that they done nothing wrong. They said that there's no legislation in Ireland, it's not a criminal offence to annihilate anyone online at that time. I could have you as a friend on Facebook at that time and tear you down, and there's nothing you could have done about it legally, because there was no law there was no legislation. And I was going to say to protect vulnerable people, but it's not only vulnerable people that get targeted online. you could be the strongest person in the world and still get dragged down. If people want to drag you down so much, they can still drag you down. But there was nothing there to protect him. So I had to make a choice. After Nicole died, I slept in her room to be around all her stuff. And the house coat that I found Nicole in was the last thing that touched her skin, and I sleep with that every night. And even when we go to schools or we have to stay over somewhere, that comes with me. And I remember lying in her bed one night and I was sobbing, and I was so close to just wanting to go with her. It was like I'm in the middle, and my boys and my family are on one side, and Nicole's on the other side, somewhere where she shouldn't be. She should be at home with her mum, and just the longing to just see her. And that's when I got the phone call from my cousin then to say, what are you up to? That did change. I don't know how real it is, but it was real in my head enough to say, well, I must have something to do. I've too much work to do. Don't know what they mean, but I decided, hard decision, either go with Cole or do something about it. But I chose to do something about it and try and bring in a legislation to protect victims that were going through the same thing that Nicole was going through, but also to not make another family feel the way I feel even today. So yeah, I just we went in. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing, and even halfway through, I was still winging it all the way. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to get it. I learned quickly. I got meetings with TDs in the Dáil. I had a protest outside, a couple of protests outside Leinster House. I had a huge march through Dublin City, and everyone brought a single pink balloon for Cole. And the TDs in Windsor at this time still wasn't listening to me. They were kind of like, that's not going to happen, you know, a little snigger. And there's two things I always say, Matt, is one, never say no to an Irish mammy, because that doesn't go down well, and especially when they're trying to fight for their kids. But to say no to a grieving Irish mammy would just piss you off altogether so much, and that kind of put the fire in my belly to say, no, I'll do this. It was the Irish people, it was Facebook, the social media that helped me. Social media can be great when you need it, but it can also have its dark side, as you know. I shared Nicole's, I hate saying story because she's so much more than a story, but I shared it all around. I got on loads of TV programs and radio stations, newspapers. So many parents were saying, this is happening to my daughter or my son or my brother or my sister and all, and everyone started sharing everything. I was kind of getting somewhere in the Dáil at this stage, but then the ministers and TDs were starting to use the word COCOs Law, and the reason why I wanted COCOs Law was because even though our name was Nicole, when Nicole was born, my 9-month-old nephew, he was only learning how to talk, and he couldn't say many words, and he couldn't say Nicole, and he could only call her Coco, and that's where her baby name kind of stuck with her all the way up. And I had a meeting. One guy turned it all around for me, and that was Brendan Howland from Labour. And he took me on. He was absolutely fantastic, and he said to me, we'll bring in a legislation. We'll work on this. We'll get this done. And I said, there's two things I want. One is a legislation, and the other one, it has to be called COCOs Law. And I remember Brendan sitting there and saying, well, you know, we can work on the legislation, but I don't know if you're going to get it. And I said, stop right now. And I said, there's two things I want, is the legislation and COCOs Law. And he went to say, well, you know, and I said, I don't want to hear it. Don't even tell me. There's two things, Matt, that I needed, and that was the law and Nicole's legacy. I always said to my mum that I didn't want her to be forgotten. I promised her when I didn't go with her that time that I'd make sure that she'll always be remembered. I needed a COCOs Law. I needed her legacy. I needed it not to be unnecessary, or for her to die for nothing. So I was aiming for the two things, and the TDs and ministers, they started to use them in meetings that they had, and live on the telly. I could hear them saying COCOs Law, and I'm going, wow, this might actually work. On the 28th of December 2020, COCOs Law was coming in. It was being named COCOs Law. It's also there was another name with it, the Harmful Harassment Communication Related Offence Bill. I struggled even to say that. But they were starting COCOs Law, and I'm going, wow, this might happen. But 10 days before COCOs Law was to come in, on the 28th of December, Helen McEntee, she was only made Minister for Justice in September, and I only got out of the shower and I got on Facebook, and I found out on Facebook that they weren't calling it COCOs Law, that she wasn't calling it COCOs Law. She wanted to call it the Harmful Harassment Communication Related Bill, and she was on Facebook and Messenger, and I sent her a video, and I didn't think she was going to reply, I didn't think she was going to look at it, but she did, and I said to her, if you do that, and I was so respectful, I never had a loud voice all the way campaigning, I never disrespected anyone, but I said to her, if you do that, if you take Coco's name out of it, you are going to put the final nails in my coffin, and I meant it. We were talking about Gary there. I rang Gary, and I was crying that much. I couldn't even catch my breath. I couldn't breathe. And I said to Gary that they're not going to call it COCOs Law. And I said, I might as well just give up. That's the way I felt. And I said, I might as well give up. And Gary says, right, go on, give up. Get off this phone and ring Brendan Howland and say, that you're giving up, you're not going anymore. He said, quit, get off it. And Gary, even though he's my best friend, he hung up on me. And I just said, arsehole, because he hung up on me. And what I did, I said, about pissing off a grieving Irish mammy, I said, well, I'll show him now. I got on to Brendan Howland and arranged a meeting with him. I got on to March for Justice Ireland, who was helping me at this stage. I had Zoom meetings set up. I was ready to cause bleeding murder. And Gary rang me back up. I wasn't going to answer him. I did answer him, and he goes, well, what did you do? And I told him everything I did, and he goes, that's my girl. He knew that if he pissed me off that much, that he knew I'd do something about it, Helen McEntee arranged a meeting with me face to face, and I went into the Department of Justice. We had a big, huge round table in front of us, and she had all our legal team, and they were all in their suits, and their glasses were halfway down their nose, and they were looking at me, and I had me and two lads from March for Justice. But that week, I don't know what Helen McEntee did, but she was in trouble that week, and she was called the Ice Queen. And all I kept thinking was, how am I going to melt the Ice Queen when I go in? How am I going to do this? She also announced that week that she was pregnant. So I brought in 4 photographs, and I sat in front of her. I told her everything, and I put one photograph in front of her, which was a baby scan. And I said, there's where you are right now, and there's Nicole's baby scan. It was a lie I told. I didn't get a baby scan when Nicole was, I didn't get a photograph. When Nicole, in the baby scan, it was actually Lee, her brother's scan, but you couldn't tell at that stage. But I just said, you're pregnant now, and there's Nicole's baby scan. And another picture, the second picture I put down was Nicole at her christening, and I said, there's where you're going to be when your baby's born. And then the third picture I put down was Nicole in her communion dress, and she was so small and petite. She was like a little fairy in it. And I said, there's, you're going to have your child's communion. But the fourth photograph I put down is a photograph that I've never seen, or never ever want to see. And And when I put it down, I turned my head and I put it down in front of her, and that was a picture of Nicole in her coffin. And I said to her, there's where you are right now, with your baby scan, and there's where I am. But Gary said to me, don't take your eyes off her, just keep looking at her. And I kept looking at her. The two lads beside me, they were yabbering with the legal team, and I just kept staring at Helen McEntee, and she just nodded her head. And I remember just saying thank you. I hadn't a clue what I was thanking her for, but I knew she got me. And the reason why I knew she got me as well was 2 years before that, her dad took his own life due to online bullying. So she suffered that as well, so she got me. She was fantastic. I have to say, she's a lovely woman. She gave me a memorandum, where when you look up COCOs Law, Nicole has her own memory. I brought it with me there. I just can't remember reading it out, but she gave Nicole's own memorandum. President Higgins signed it into the Irish statute book. So long after we're gone, it's going to it'll be in the Irish statute books forever and ever and ever. COCOs Law will be. We're working with WebWise, with the schools, working with DCU. She gave me so much more than what I asked. But I remember when it was a huge bittersweet moment when COCOs Law was passed, because people had the protection now of online bullying that Nicole never had, and I'm glad for that. And people always said to me, "Oh, you must be so proud of yourself." I struggle with pride, because I always said if this law had been in before Nicole died, maybe she'd be still here. If I had something to the guards or something, or a law that I could have worked on with her, and so it was hard to be proud. And at the end of the day, it was a huge bitter moment, because it doesn't change anything for me. I'm not going to get to see Cole smile anymore, or her hugs. It changes nothing for me, but it does change a lot for everyone else now. And people always said, "Oh, you're so strong." I wasn't strong. I chose to fight for COCOs Law as a survival mode, as a plan or a focus, so I wouldn't go with Cole. And that's why I did it as well. But no one seen the way I was at home.
And still are.
And still am, yeah. And everyone's saying how strong I was. But when COCOs Law was passed, I went back to my mum's house, and my mum was about to give me a hug, and I just broke down, and then I said, all I want is Nicole. When it was passed, a lot of people didn't notice. My immune system was gone. I stopped eating altogether, and the doctors wanted to take me into the hospital, and I wouldn't go. I stayed in bed for I don't know how long. I shut everyone out. Didn't want to talk to anyone. And while people were still saying, "Oh, you must be so happy. You must be delighted with yourself with the law," and they meant well. Don't get me wrong. Like they were all happy that was true. They just thought I was as well. But
that brings you no peace. That doesn't bring you any help. That's not going to ease your pain. Nothing is going to ease that pain. No. That's something just separate.
Yeah.
That's just something for the future. And again, as you said, and rightly so, you're still angry. I shouldn't even have to be fighting for this fucking thing.
Mm.
This should have been in already, and this may have prevented this would have helped my pain.
Yeah.
In the first place.
Yeah.
Prevention is better than fucking cure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would have had something to go on, but there was nothing there for Cole at the time. And with the law that's in now, it's not only online bullying, it's the intimate images as well, as part of COCOs Law, where you used to be able to share images or all over. You know, it wasn't a criminal it wasn't against the law to share images, and you know, boys are going out with boys or boys are going out with girls, whatever the situation is, and they think they're madly in love and you know they're going to last forever, and they send intimate images of themselves to each other. And I always say in the schools, you know, when you send an image to someone, ask yourself, is it something that you'd show your mum and dad first, or your nanny and granddad? Not a hope in hell would they, you know. And I always say to them, then don't put it on social media for everyone to see. Where before COCOs Law was came in, people could share those images and destroy someone, you know, just destroy someone that just sent an image thinking that was going to stay with that person. You know, that also can kill someone. But now there's a legislation in where you can't share any images of anyone, not only on social media, you can't even share it to your friend without that person's consent. It is against the law to share any intimate images, and not only intimate images. Do you know, the likes of a car crash, there was a nasty one at that time when and people stopping and taking photographs. You can't do that. You're sharing, it's not an intimate image, but it's an image that you're not supposed to share online. You can't be sharing things like that either. You can be charged for that now.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, Jesus. So you were struggling to leave the house, get out of bed. What was the pivotal point for the work that you're doing today with going to the schools and...
Gary.
Yeah.
He was working in the background more, but when COCOs Law came in, everyone, how do I put this, and I mean this in a very nice way, everyone was a yes person to me. And I mean, what I mean by that is they didn't want to upset me. So no matter what I wanted to do, they'd agree with me or say yes to me. Gary's not like that at all. Not one bit. It was damaging me. He knew already. I wasn't eating. I wasn't. He gave me the push that I needed. He never left me. He said, "What will make you happy in any way? What is it that, you know, the right step to go into?" And I said, all I want is some kind of normal. I wasn't going to be doing cartwheels or somersaults around the place. I just wanted some kind of normal, to try and carry on every day. And he showed me that at this point now, even though I miss Cole every second, I miss her so much. Now I know it's okay to laugh, it's okay to smile, and still miss Cole. He's shown me that. He's just been amazing. He's never left my side. He's so protective of me as well, and he just. I remember one day he said to me on one of my darkest days, and I rang him, and he said to me, I was in bed, and he said, close your eyes, and he said, I'm on a train, and he said, now just visualize this. He said, I'm on a train, and this train is about to pull off, and I'm holding my hand out. You either come and get on this train with me, or stay where you are. So he said, if you want some kind of normal, close your eyes and put your hand out and hold my hand while this train is pulling off. I know that sounds...
I love it.
Yeah, and he said, if you don't hold my hand while the train's pulling off, you'll never get that some kind of normal. You'll stay where you are. And I did close my eyes and I put my hand out, and he said, have you got my hand? And I said, yeah. And he said, I promise you, I'll never let your hand go. And he hasn't let my hand go. He's kept me here. He's given me. I forgot how to smile. The guilt. I don't feel guilty anymore. I did everything for Nicole. I took the blame. I took the guilt of what these people did. I kicked myself around. You know what I mean? I was beating myself up. But now I know that it wasn't me. That was the other people that did it. But I was just beating myself up. But now I don't have any guilt in my head. And that's what was weighing me down a lot. And I felt guilty if I went out anywhere. Even today, Nicole's gone 4 years, and I don't go to any family events. I don't go out. I don't drink really anyway, but I don't go out to the pub. I don't go to christenings, birthdays, any family events without Cole. I still can't do that. I'm not good at socialising. At the start it was a guilt thing. How can I go out and laugh? But now I just don't want to go. You know?
What makes you happy now? What makes you smile now?
Now, it took me a while to realise that, you know, I've a lot to be grateful for here. It took me a long time to smile or be happy. My main thing is to keep busy, because sometimes if I'm not busy, you know, the likes of the midterm that was gone by, I wasn't doing schools and stuff. Sometimes if I sit in my own thoughts for too long, not that I want to take my own life or anything, it's just everything gets back on top of me. What makes me smile now is just everything that I have around me. I don't have one negative person in my life, not one. I've great friends. I've only a very small group of close friends, and that's all I need. I have a great family. My boys are great. I'm just when I moved to Wexford, I live right at the sea now. There's a bench down facing the sea with a plaque, with Nicole's plaque on it as well. That's my happy little place. It's not, I don't go down there when I'm sad, but I go down and I read a book in the summer or have a cup of tea or whatever. Sometimes me and my friends would sit there and watch the sunrise coming up. Simple light things that's just nice. Walks on the beach. I'm grateful that I'm still here. As well, so I'm getting there. You know, I'll never move on. I hate the words of moving on. I can't just say I'll move on from all that.
There's no
but I
on.
have moved forward.
Yeah.
I have moved forward.
The
And
grief process is not linear. You know, it's up and down. You go back and go back forward. And
when I was campaigning for COCOs Law, I went to a group called HUGG, HUGG, it's a bereavement by suicide group only. So everyone, even the facilitators, are bereaved by suicide. So in that group, everyone understood everyone what they're going through, and that I wasn't going mad. I thought I was going mad and forgetting everything. I still forget everything, by the way. You know, I just thought I was going nuts, and I joined this group, which have been fantastic. But when I joined it, I couldn't even mention Nicole's name without crying. But while I was campaigning for COCOs Law, I was also training to be a facilitator for HUGG. I did all my training, went away for weekends, and did everything that I needed to be a facilitator. And now myself and my friend facilitate HUGG in Tallaght, in the Maldron Hotel in Tallaght, and we have a good sized group that they're only starting off, when some of them are a bit down the line, but they're where I used to be, and that's how I know I've moved forward, looking back on where I used to be with that, and now I'm helping people in the whole group through their grief, and it's helping me as well. It's still kind of counselling for me as well, because I'm still in the group, you know.
Absolutely. It's lovely to see you. It's lovely to see you smile right now. I'm so enamoured by your integrity, your love in your heart. You're not bitter and twisted, and it's it's incredible. Your strength is obviously your strength, but your dignity as well. You know, you didn't come here, and you don't. And I know from just talking to you, ridiculing these other people that you've got so much for.
No,
it's all about Nicole.
Yeah, and
that's
you know
beautiful.
why I can't give them the time in my head. If I thought about them all the time, it would just consume the anger and the hate. Do I hate them? Yeah, of course I do. But do I let it destroy me? No, I can't, because I've so much going on in my head with grief and the facilitating and the school talk. I can't fit anything else into my head. Do you know, I've enough in my head without giving them the attention in my brain. Does that make sense?
A 1,000,000%.
I won't let them consume me.
But it seems, in what it's saying to me, subconscious, you're driven by love, and you're loving Nicole. You're not doing this as vengeance or repaying back to them. You're turning your poison, you're turning your lead as an alchemist would into gold, and your potion, and that's going from the dark into the light.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing through this, which is so fucking beautiful. Like Lisa Callagher and Shannon's Hopeline, you're doing the same thing. As painful and bitter as this is, you're turning it into love in service of Nicole, in her memory, where people would be, they're so caught up with the pain, and these fucking people are going to pay.
Yeah, I understand that as well. You know, people feel it that way, but with me, look at where I am now. How do I put this? I've done what I achieved to do, and it's not get a law in. I did that as well, but what I achieved to do was to keep Nicole, to keep Nicole's memory alive, and to give her a legacy, and that's where I learned to move forward a bit as well. When I was campaigning for COCOs Law, I couldn't move an inch forward, because that was still on my mind, you know, because I was scared that I wasn't going to be able to keep my promise to her, you know, that I wasn't going to get her legacy, and I wasn't going to get the law in, but I did what I set out to do, and that was also to make Cole proud as well. So what I'm doing extra after this, that is the school talks and stuff. I don't have to do school talks. I don't have to. I could have just got the law in and just moved on, but that just didn't feel right. I know.
You still have work to do.
Yeah,
she said
exactly.
You have work to do.
I don't think I have a choice. I think my path is just, and I'm not religious, as I said, but I think my path is just laid out for me, whether I like it or not. You know.
Yeah. You know, we all have a purpose, and it's unfortunate you had to find yours through pain and grief and sorrow, and hers was a message, and it's fucking, it's incredibly painful, but you handle with so much dignity and integrity. It's beyond belief. You know, you're an incredible human being. I don't want to say strong. You're more. Like, language is very limiting. To say you're strong doesn't even fucking put words on it, Jackie. You're just an incredible soul, and it's amazing. I'm just so privileged to do this with you. What words of I wouldn't say advice. What would you say to parents that may be going through similar experience to you right now? What would you say? How can we help them? What would your words of experience be?
First of all, you know, if you're a daughter or son, brother, whoever is going through any of this, is get as much evidence as you can, get as much screenshots, get as much proof as you can. But what I was finding now, I find the guards have been great with COCOs Law, but there's a catch to it. If you say if someone is going down and they want to make a complaint, well, that's all they're doing is making a complaint. So that complaint is just going to go into the drawer, and because you didn't request anything, you didn't ask anything, you just made a complaint about these bullies that are doing this to your son or your daughter. You have all the evidence, so you're making a complaint. That's all you're doing. So what I found was, and the guards even said this to me, you have to go down and say, I want all this, all your proof, I want this investigated under COCOs Law. So you're requesting it now, it's a law, they have to act on it. But if you just go down to put in a statement or a complaint, that's all you're doing. They don't have to act on it. But if you go down and say, I want this investigated under COCOs Law, they're acting on it. A lot of the guards are doing talks about COCOs Law in schools as well. Some of them have joined in with me in talks, doing. One of the guards says that I'm actually teaching him.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and then I was saying to Andy there that I had the talk in Kerry, and there's hundreds of they were all sergeants, commissioners, and guards that I spoke to in Kerry in some hotel. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm teaching them of what. That sounds crazy.
Most
I know.
definitely.
Yeah. So and then I don't know what I should say. This is good. I've been awarded the Freedom of the County.
Of Kerry?
No, of Dublin.
What are you saying is so sheepishly for?
So sheepishly, that's gas, because what that means is you're allowed to bring a sheep into Stephen's Green.
Oh, yeah, fucking joking, Jackie. You're going to be going around with a sheep.
And you won't get fined.
Really?
But it's actually the highest honorary award that you can get in Ireland, and on the list.
Have you picked your sheep out yet?
Yeah.
I have a sheepskin rug out there. Do you want to get it and put it around to see what it feels like?
It sounds real, like that's going back years and years
That's
and years.
brilliant.
Yeah, but you know, the people that have got this award, the
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela, JFK,
Yeah.
Pope John Paul. I'm on the same list.
Mother
as
Teresa.
Mother Teresa.
And
Yeah.
you're up there with Mother Teresa, Jackie Fox and Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
They'll be canonising you. You'll be bottling your piss and they'll be selling it down at Medjugorje.
Yeah,
When
and
is that happening, or has that happened?
Right, okay, it was supposed to happen. I thought it was a good idea. Nicole's anniversary was the 20th of January. I thought it was a good idea to have it on that day, and I was saying I can join Nicole in with it, and she can be proud of me at the same time. When that day came, I couldn't even get out of bed. I cried and cried and cried. It was a stupid idea. I thought it was good at the time, but I cancelled it. And COVID was still around, so I couldn't have the people that I wanted at it either. So now it's booked in for the 22nd of April. I've designed some script and yeah, and you are more than welcome to come into it if you want as well.
Can't wait to meet the sheep.
Yeah, but that's what that you get the script, and it's the highest honorary
Freedom
award.
of the city.
Yeah. But what it really means is, you're allowed to bring a sheep into Stephen's Green. You won't
You can
be
walk
fined.
ducks as well or something, isn't it? You can have ducks in Stephen's Green or something.
I
Isn't
don't
it?
know.
Jesus Christ.
I know, yeah. And it was just funny when you said sheepishly.
Yeah,
Just when you said that word as well, I was like, oh, by the way.
Oh, that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
What's the one thing you'd like people to take away from this interview after listening to you?
You know, if anyone's listening that is getting bullied, you know, and I know I hate saying the word bully, but if you're getting destroyed by anyone online and stuff, it's the main thing I find is talk about it, and don't let it build up, because once it can just get deeper and deeper and deeper into your head, and it's so hard to get it back out. It's, you know, if it's students or adults, whoever it is, talk to your teachers, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to bloody well anyone that you think will listen to you. Don't keep it in. And you know, if there is people that are doing that at the moment, destroying people, thinking that, oh sure, it's only a bit of fun, it's only a bit of banter, you know, know where to draw the line, know when it's not fun anymore. You know, don't cross that line, because no one knows exactly what's going on inside anyone's head. Like Nicole used to go out with that pretend smile on her face that I'm okay, and she wasn't. You know, you could still go into work and pretend that you're okay, or school kids still going into their class and saying, oh, you're not bothering me with what you're doing. But you don't know when those people go home, how they're feeling. Are they self-harming? You know, are some of them crying themselves asleep and then going back into work or school, putting that fake brave smile on their face? you know, and some people thinking they're just having the crack. Just know, let social media be fun, but know where to draw the line as well. You know when to stop. You know, if it's hurting people, because it can kill. It has killed.
Yeah. Jackie Fox, I told Gary Cunningham I love him, but I love you more. I love you. You're fucking an incredible human being. Thanks so much for being so vulnerable. Thanks so much for showing us your heart and in spite of your pain. I'm just honoured. I really am. I feel privileged to sit here and share this with you. You're a beautiful soul, and thanks Nicole for keeping you here. Thanks for being with you all the time. It's just amazing. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight as well.
Oh, you're fine.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. Guys, thanks for watching and listening. If you're still here with us, please mind your little self if you've watched or listened to this. If anything come up for you tonight or today that triggers you, please speak to someone. Please express how you're feeling, how you're thinking, how you're behaving. Share with somebody. Keep yourself safe. I cannot emphasize this anymore. Safety is the #1 priority. Please stay safe. Talk therapy. If you need to take medication, whatever it is that keeps you psychologically, spiritually, physiologically safe, please do that. It's paramount. Whatever it takes for you to be safe, and I'm begging you to do that. And so if anything comes up, please share. If we can help you, put you on to some professionals, please contact us. Thanks very much. Please share this in memory of Nicole, in memory, in service of Jackie's amazing work. Please share with family and friends. The more we talk about this, take away the taboo in mental health, take away the taboo in suicide. It's not for the weak, it's not for the people that don't know. There's loads of talk around that people are weak when they choose suicide. All that fucking bullshit. People are just so much in pain, they can't struggle pain. From someone that wanted to take their own life by suicide, just like you, I wanted to not want to be here anymore. So I know what that's like. And fuck me, it's not weak. Just the pain gets so hard and it gets so fucking unbearable. So I know that. So yeah, stay safe and share with family and friends. And thanks very much. Thanks Jackie, thanks Gary Cunningham, thanks to David Murphy for introducing me to Two Beautiful Souls. We can't wait to have Gary Cunningham on the show soon enough when he's ready to rock. He's got to have a hard act to follow.
Oh, he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I tell you, I can't wait. So look, I want to thank Noel Riley from Rooney Media Graphics, Andy's from Liberty Media Hub, the girls from Shannon's Hope Line, the Liberty Soup Run. Thanks to all our listeners, thanks for all the followers, thanks for all the messages, all the encouragement and sharing all our work. We really appreciate it. So I'll just leave you with saying, mind your little self, and whatever that is, stay safe. Thanks very much. Have a whopper evening. You up the flats.